Check. 1, 2, 3.
The D. Brief. This is the D Brief.
Go. Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's arts
and entertainment scene.
This is the D
Brief.
Hello and welcome to the Debrief live from Nektar Meadery in Ferndale. Give it up to you guys for coming out. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Seth Ressler. This is your podcast for concerts, comedy, plays, food, drink, and more in the Detroit area.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And it is Tuesday, January 15th, 2019. It's not really, but that's when we're going to be releasing this. That's when everybody at home is going to be hearing this. Here's the way it works. If you've never heard this podcast before, I am the new guy. I am new to the Detroit area. I've only lived here for about 3 years or so I have no idea what goes on in this area.
And I'm the native, so I like to school Seth on all things Detroit.
Yeah, this is basically a big learning experience, this podcast for me, and I've learned so much from Becky in doing this. Look, here's what we've got on today's show. We are here at the Nektar Meadery in Ferndale. How many people out there, this is your first time here? Never been here before. Look at that. Wow. That's like
new.
3/4 of the audience. This place is fantastic. I love this place. We will Uber or Lyft over here quite frequently because the drinks are dangerous. I love to get a sampler and try everything. And normally I walk into a place and you try the sampler, the little 5-ounce pours, and you like half of them, and half of them you're like, that was neat to try. You only live once. I love everything at this place.
I know, you're a glutton for the mead.
Oh, and this place is off the beaten path. It's a little hard to find here in Ferndale, right? You got to plug it into your Google Maps, and you're like, where is this taking me? And somehow you wind up here. But this place is absolutely fantastic. So welcome to the Nektar Tap Room. A little bit later this episode, we're going to talk to Miranda from Nektar here, find out exactly what they do here.
I think that's the big question. What is mead? So we'll find out.
Also, you're going to talk to us about some of the best-selling albums coming out this year.
Yeah, the best-selling for 2018 in Detroit.
Any guesses? Anybody want to guess what the best-selling album is? What do you think it was? Eminem. It's a pretty good guess. We'll find out if that's true. Also, on Thursday, we are going to drop an interview. I interviewed John Witz, who is the man behind Winterfest. They put it together every single year. Not Winterfest, Winter Blast. They put it together every year. This year, for the first time, they've actually made it free for everybody, and they're doing 4 weekends in downtown Detroit. It's a great opportunity to go check out downtown Detroit. You'll be able to hear that conversation on Thursday. Don't forget, we mention a lot of things in this podcast. You can always go to our website, thedebriefdetroit.com, and while you're there, go ahead and
sign up for the email list. But you can also text Detroit to 444-999 to do the same thing.
All right, well, let's get into the show, and let's meet our guest host.
This is the
Detroit
Brief.
All right, our host, who many of you met earlier tonight, he's been out working, doing tricks, doing magic among the audience. He has actually done over 13,000 live performances in his lifetime. He does about 400 live performances a year. He has performed for, among others, the Rolling Stones, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, the Pittsburgh Steelers, George Strait, Robin Leach, Mario Andretti, Lisa Gibbons, and more. He also performs frequently at a dinner theater in Northville called Genetti's. I can't even read my own handwriting. Please welcome Jasen Magic. Big round of applause.
Thank you. What is going on, Ferndale? Wow. That's amazing. Thank you, both of you. Wow.
Absolutely.
It's incredible.
You were the first magician we've had on the show.
Definitely, yeah.
Didn't you say this was the second show?
This was the second live show.
Oh, second live show.
We've been going almost a year, and we have not had a magician.
I get it. I dig it. There's no room for...
Because we had to wait for the best.
Hello, boom, drink, sociable.
Let's talk a little bit about how you got into magic.
Yeah, Seth, what would you like to know?
I mean, how does one start? Like, at what point do you sit there and go, I'm a magician?
Well, listen, okay, so true story. It typically starts as a child with no friends. Oh, the audience didn't laugh at that. Aww, but it was so true. No, it starts off as a kid just saying, hey, how do you meet girls? And it starts off with, no girls are interested in magic. So then you meet their parents, and those are the ones that pay for shows. So that's kind of how I got into it.
Nice. So who were your role models, your inspirations?
Magicians?
Yeah.
Oh, as magicians growing up, the typical, David Copperfield, Penn and Teller, Amazing Jonathan from Detroit as well.
So that's not a name I know. I mean, I'm not from the Detroit area. Tell me about Amazing Jonathan.
Yeah, Amazing Jonathan, kind of a comedian, spoof magician. He'll do a lot of what appears to be magic, but he's just cracking jokes, kind of poking fun at the whole magic genre. He's done really well. He's in Vegas now. Toured the world.
Is there a magic circuit? I mean, I dabbled in stand-up comedy for a little while. I know that you go out and you do open mics, you perform shows. I know if you're a musician, you go out and there's sort of a circuit that you work. How does that work in the world of magic?
They have, it's really weird because it's still one of those bizarre, you don't really announce, hey, I'm a magician, because everyone's like, ha ha, loser. But no, there's a bizarre underground. Like, there's conventions that you can go to. Every city has, like, their local underground, like, fight club that, for magic.
Right,
and they get together and they just beat up on each other's methods on how they pick a card and force a card and palm a card and things like that.
Wow. So if somebody wants to start, somebody's here in the Detroit area and they're like, I'm into magic, this is something that I want to do professionally, what would you tell them? Where do they go?
I'd say don't. Don't.
You don't need the competition.
Yeah, no, I don't need the competition. No, I would just send them, to Google. That's typically where the kids are going now.
Right.
There's a couple magic clubs, but a lot of it's online. A lot of these kids are going online to find out how to do stuff, and then they realize sometimes it takes a lot of work, and they get into gaming or other things.
So what's the strangest group you've performed for?
The strangest group that I performed for?
Weirdest situation.
Weirdest situation. Wow, that's like two categories.
Strange, weird.
Strange, weird. Off the top of my head, I would probably have to say in a bar. Just in a bar, you're there to hang out with your friends, and then somebody says, "Hey, it's my buddy Jay, does magic," and then everyone's like, "Hey, do a trick," and then before you know it, you're pouring drinks, and But like, I don't have anything like weird off the top of my head. That's a good question. Let's come back to that.
You can think about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, look, we're very excited that you're here for the show tonight, and we'll hope you hang out with us. By the way, he's going to do some magic in the intermission while we're recording tonight, so if you haven't had a chance to check him out, how many people already saw him doing some magic there, right? This guy's good at what he does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
And you have a couple shows coming up here quick that
I do.
General
so
public
you
can go
wouldn't
to.
think that Detroit is hot for magic, but I've got a couple really great public events. One of them coming up on January 24th at Camp Ticonderoga in Troy, the Magic Soiree.
That sounds fancy.
Yeah, what is that?
It is. Well, it's hosted by Lady Sarah all the way from Britain. And they come in and do this show a few times a year, and they have various magicians performing. I'll be headlining that event. And then on Valentine's Day, Janetti's Hole-in-the-Wall Theater. That's been my home theater for the last 6.5 years, where I go in, I do a magic show. It accompanies a 7-course family-style meal, and you get magic comedy, Italian food, and it's downtown Northville. Check it out if you get a chance, Janetti's Hole-in-the-Wall Theater.
I might have to do that.
Sounds like a good Valentine's date.
Dave Landau may get bumped this year.
Uh-huh.
We'll have to see. All right, Jason, we're excited that you're here. Hang out and have fun with the show.
Thanks, guys.
Breathe.
Want more? Text the word Detroit to the number 444-999.
All right, Becky, let's talk a little bit about the music news. What's happening?
Yeah, so I feel like we haven't talked about Aretha in a few weeks.
Yeah, it's been at least a week.
At least a week, yeah. So there's always Aretha news. So yesterday, as we're taping this on a Monday, so Sunday, there was a big show called Aretha, a Grammy celebration of the Queen of Soul in L.A. It was hosted by Tyler Perry, put on by Clive Davis. You had people from Alicia Keys to Celine Dion, Patti LaBelle, Audra Day, Yolanda Adams, all paying tribute. And the opener for the show was Jennifer Hudson, and she is going to be playing Aretha in her biopic coming up. So what a lot of people don't realize is Aretha handpicked Jennifer herself before she passed away. Like, this is who I want to play me.
Jason, who's going to play you in your biopic?
In my biop, well, if Paul Rubens is still around, he'll probably play me.
Dead on.
Because I don't want people to know what happened in my early years. I want them to know what happened in my latter years. So when he's like, probably Pee-wee.
Okay.
Right.
Makes
Or
sense.
Denzel. Denzel.
Oh, now,
Yes.
yeah.
Denzel.
That's typecasting, isn't it?
In a little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
That's a little too obvious. So,
Okay, well,
yeah.
anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, what about Aretha? Did you have any Aretha Franklin encounters?
You know,
before she
I met
passed?
her once at a charity preview here in Detroit. I was performing down for the North American International Auto Show, and she walked in this entourage. I thought it was an entourage, but it was actually the most amazing ball gown I've ever seen. I mean, it looked like she was going to the opera, but she came in and had these handlers, I guess we'll call them, just keeping people away. Don't step on the dress, don't step on the dress. And I was doing magic for some of the guests at the charity preview, and I was performing for her, even though she wasn't watching, which is okay because nobody cares about magic anyway, really. So
I bet she
there's
was
that.
watching. You just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Do all magicians have the same self-esteem problem, or is this?
Well, no, it's not even a magician self-esteem problem. It was, I was just kind of like, hey, Aretha Franklin, I'm gonna do a card trick, and she was just like, where are the cars?
Yeah. It's the venue. It wasn't you.
Yeah.
It wasn't you. So, speaking of Aretha, a lot of people think she was a Motown artist. Not true. She never recorded under the Motown label. But Motown is celebrating a big year, 60 years from the founding of Motown. So, tons of celebrations going on this year to commemorate that 60 years. One thing that I think is really cool, if you go on Facebook to the Motown Museum site, they're doing this reveal of like really cool things from the Motown Museum. Now, that place is tiny. One of the hidden gems, I would call it, in Detroit, because almost nobody from Detroit goes there, which is a crime, because if you haven't been, you should go.
We've talked about this before, that a lot of people don't go to the Motown Museum. How many people here have actually been to the Motown Museum? Show of hands.
See, look.
Wow, maybe half.
Not even.
How many people have been in the last 5 years? Okay, same half.
Same people.
Yeah, same people.
Yeah. So the place is tiny. It's where the original recording took place. So there's lots of stuff in the archives that they've got just waiting to come out. So there's doing these little Facebook video reveals commemorating certain dates that are important in the history. So the first one was last Friday. It was to commemorate the famous story of Berry Gordy starting the label with $800. So they have the actual piece of paper where he signed for the loan, which was actually from his family. His family had a bunch of people in it. They had an entrepreneurial fund. So it was like if you were in the Gordy family and you wanted to start a business, you would say, well, how much do you need to start that business? And Barry's like, I want to do a record label. I need $800. So
that would never happen for a magician. I'm letting you know right now.
No?
If I came to my family and said, hey, can I have $800? They'd just be like, dude, you still owe us $5,000.
Yeah.
What does $800 get you in magic equipment? Like,
I don't know.
That's a lot of cards.
Right.
That's a lot of
I've
cards.
never spent that much on magic.
No. So that was the first one, so keep an eye on that. You'll see some more stuff coming up for Motown, and they're just starting a $50 million expansion, so big time.
So I've heard about this. The museum is all houses, because Motown was just
Correct.
a collection of houses.
Yes.
What are they going to do with $50 million? Are they going to build more houses?
Big blow out the back. No, it's going to be a big building.
That's weird.
Yeah, it'll look different footprint there on West Grand Boulevard, So we were talking about the best-selling albums in Detroit in 2018. Somebody came up with Eminem. That was, in fact, a big seller. So Eminem's Kamikaze in the Detroit market was the number 3 seller of the year. It was number 4 nationally. If you add in Revival, his previous album, Eminem was the biggest overall album seller in the U.S. in 2018.
This is why you should always release 2 albums in the same year.
You should. It's a good strategy.
It's,
Jack White's Boarding House Ranch was number 7 in Detroit as compared to number 48 nationally.
So that's a big difference.
I know.
The Eminem was pretty close.
Exactly.
That's a big difference for Jack White.
And same here. Greta Van Fleet, hot young band from Frankenmuth. Their EP, From the Fires, was number 8 in Detroit, number 28 nationally, and their full album, Anthem of the Peaceful Army, was number 15 in Detroit and number 44 nationally. So what this tells me is I think we always had a tradition in Detroit of not really celebrating our own artists. So, for instance, when techno started, those guys had to go to Europe to play. You know, nobody was listening to them here or really realizing what a gift we had. So
poor Berry Gordy had to go beg for $800
from his own family. So I think that's pretty cool that we're actually supporting our local
All right,
people.
but it doesn't answer the question. What was the number one album here in Detroit?
Yeah,
this year?
these are strange. So they corresponded. The number one was corresponded with what sold nationally the best was the Greatest Showman soundtrack. So movie soundtrack.
Who owns that? Which one of you bought the Greatest Showman soundtrack? Really? Yeah,
I got it.
That's it.
I got it. I got it. What can I say, man?
Well, that makes sense. 'Cause you're a
Listen,
showman.
I am waiting in line for that to be released as a play. I am waiting to fly to New York to be one of
Okay.
the first to get seats to that. That soundtrack is insane.
It'll happen.
Really?
It'll happen.
All right.
So number two, totally different. Kenny Chesney.
Who bought the Kenny Chesney album? Any of you? No? Nobody here.
That's what sold in Detroit.
You guys
So-
all bought the Eminem album, though, right? Well, stole the Eminem album, right? Yeah, downloaded it illegally, right?
Well, that's the thing too. Who actually buys albums anymore? So,
I can't remember. Alexa, play Eminem.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So I have a few concert picks for you coming up. Saturday, there's a few things going on. There was no real big shows this next week, so I thought I'd pick a few smaller ones. G Love and Special Sauce is going to be at St. Andrews. Also at the Old Miami, there's going to be a fundraiser concert. A Scream Out the Silence is a benefit concert for suicide awareness, which I think is really important. With the rates have really gone up, especially here in Michigan, in the last couple of years. And for anybody that was in the Detroit area in the 90s, you might remember this local band, Jess Grew. They're very popular. They kind of fit in with that whole Gin Blossoms, Counting Crows kind of flavor.
I think we just saw your age compared to the age of the audience. I think let's just have
Really?
the silence.
You're gonna joke about the age of all the down and dirty things. Well, maybe it's just me, but they're fabulous. And they're doing a reunion show at Loving Touch, also on Saturday. So if you want to get your 90s on. On Sunday, January 20th, Michigan Philharmonic is doing miniature masterpieces. I don't know a lot about chamber music, but this sounds interesting. They have music from Mother Goose to Edgar Allan Poe, and it's in a chapel at the Inn at St. John's in Plymouth.
Welcome to the D.
Detroit's
Arts and entertainment scene.
All right, everybody. I want to welcome Miranda Johnson. She's the taproom GM here at B Nektar Meadery in Ferndale. She knows all about mead, which is good because I think a lot of us don't, right? A lot of us have never been here before. Please welcome Miranda. Give it up for her. Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Sorry we caught you with a mouthful of sushi.
I know,
there for a minute,
I
so-
literally just put a huge piece of sushi in my mouth, and it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah, come on up.
Perfect timing. Chomp, chomp.
Well, let's talk about this place. I mean, let's start with the obvious question because I think a lot of us don't know. What is mead?
Oh, mead is the best thing you could ever have, so drink all of it tonight. It's actually one of the oldest alcohols available or made. It's just honey, water, and yeast, and it just makes a beautiful, beautiful liquid for your mouth and your mind.
And how do you produce it? What's the process?
Honey, water, and yeast.
But those are the ingredients, but they just sit there? Like
They
what
just
happens?
hang out. Yeah, they hang out.
Barrels?
Yeah, sometimes you can barrel age things. Usually, if you just have it in one vessel, which is the old Viking ways, I think is how they figured it out.
Okay.
There's no true recipes, but we definitely have a little bit more of a recipe with our big shiny tanks in the back. But just as a very simple process, we just overcomplicate it with a bunch of other things that we throw into it.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of B Nektar?
Sure. It was started by a husband-wife team as well as a good friend of theirs, Paul Zimmerman. So Brad and Carrie Dahlhelfer and Paul Zimmerman started kind of homebrewing. Actually, Brad was like a huge home brewer and came into, looking into mead and trying something new and made some great mead. And Carrie kind of said, we should try to sell this. And it was during lovely recession times, as we've had in Detroit, and so they did it, and here we are, almost 11. In August, it'll be 11 years. So,
Wow. So, 2008, that was a rough year to start a
it
business.
was a little tragic, but they made they turned the honey into gold for sure.
Well, if you're looking for a year where people are going to start drinking, that's probably
That's a good
Well,
point.
I mean, everybody, yeah.
They weren't going on vacations.
They did it right.
Yeah.
They did it right for sure.
I have actually heard that a lot, that's a business that you want to be in an economic downturn, because
Makes
people
sense.
will
Alcohol.
cancel their, vacation to Florida, but they'll still
They'll
go
stay
out
home and drink.
Yeah,
Yeah.
staycation.
So you brought us these flights here.
We
Can,
did. We do. We have
can
a
we
little
walk through some?
little taster. Yeah, we have about 5 different meads and ciders to work through. The first one is Core Crusher.
Okay.
It is it's a new one that we did. It's a dry cider, so if anybody wants to try it too, feel free. It's about 6.5%. It's literally just as simple as that. It's just a dry cider. It kind of just captures all the other dry ciders that are out there, but just a little better.
What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, give us a rundown of what everyone thinks.
What are your tasting notes?
Since this is
Magic.
the first time I've tasted mead, I would say this
It's a cider.
Oh, it's a cider. Okay, so this is my.
We're starting
I've
out
had
with the cider.
ciders before, but since I brought up mead, maybe it's mediocre. Mediocre. No, oak as an oak. Was this cider made in an oak barrel?
It was not.
It was not. Okay. Well, screw you guys. I'm trying.
Stick
it's
to-
good. I
stick
like
to
this
magic.
cider. This is good.
It's good.
Do they sell this by the industrial size?
Magic's more for you.
Tin? Yeah.
Make it disappear.
This is very dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is. It's a traditional dry cider. Something, again, that just came out recently. So we're hoping to capture some cider lovers on that angle. We do have a second one. It's called Believe. That is a mead. It's an apple mead made with orange blossom honey. We actually did this in kind of collaborations as a licensing agreement with American Gods, the TV show that is on Stars. The second season. Nice smile. The second
He
season.
likes this one.
The second season will actually be out in March. So we were working with Stars and Fremantle Media and made it for them. We have bottles available. If you see the label art, it's bonkers. It's super cool. We had a lot of fun with this one. So
I like this one. This is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's sweeter, obviously, than the dry cider,
Yeah,
but it's
that-
not overly sweet.
yeah. So with that, it being an apple mead, I think the apple kind of takes a little bit of a back seat, so the orange blossom just really, really kind of showcases it. So it's a cool mead. And in American Gods, that's how Wednesday gets Shadow Moon in agreement with him. So if any of the American Gods and Neil Gaiman nerds have read the book, they'll understand.
Everybody here is looking at you as if I was talking about magic.
Now she knows how you
I'm
feel.
gonna
I found my
now.
Dungeons and Dragons partner right here. We're going to drink mead and have
Yeah.
nobody call
Yeah.
us all night.
That's awesome.
Perfect. Well, our third one is Zombie Killer. That is our flagship. That's the one I always kind of make the joke to be like, this pays the bills so we can do a bunch of like crazy other stuff. So Zombie Killer is just 5.5%, nice easy drinker, a nice session sizer with tart cherry and apple cider
And that's the,
star thistle. Yeah, and
The
then
artwork we have behind us here.
you can also put
It's a little frightening.
You could too be on the label. It's
Yeah.
right there.
Can you talk about the artwork and the labels?
Yeah. So Carrie Dahlhofer, one of the other co-founders and owners, she's handled the branding since day one. She's just a wizard. She's the coolest when it comes down to the concepts and stories behind it and things like that. So she's really on point. She works basically. We have a pretty small marketing and branding team, but we have a lot of fun doing what we do, and the pop culture references and things like that. We really like to tie in, I don't know, things that are relevant from our lives and just, pop culture and things like that.
So give us some examples. What are some of the
Yeah.
pop culture?
So with Zombie Killer, it was definitely the Walking Dead comic series. We have Stupid
Before
Man-
the TV show? Before it was cool?
Before it was cool.
Right.
Before it was cool. Before it was cool. Our other year rounds would be Tuco Style Freakout, which straight up comes from Breaking Bad. It's good with Rooftop Pizza. And then Necro, which used to be known as Necro Mango Con, came from Evil Dead. So we have a lot of weird, silly references that I think it takes a certain fan to really truly understand it.
Yeah.
But also, kind of even if you don't know about it, it's still
neat.
pretty cool.
Is it all the same artist?
We have two Carries on my team. There's Carrie Dahlhofer and Carrie Trusovitz, and he's the one that just recently did the All My Mangoes and Core Crusher and Punk Lemonade. So in the sense of artists, we got some really, really fun people on the team.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's next after
the
the zombie?
fourth one is the Punk Lemonade, and that is raspberry and lemon cider. This is a new release that we have this year as well. It's super refreshing.
Wow.
Lots of fun artwork on the bottle, too. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
so that
different.
comes in at about 6.3 ABV. So still kind of an easy drinker, but you got to watch yourself sometimes.
What are you thinking there, Jason?
I was going to ask, before I get hit in the head again, is this a cider or is this a mead?
It's a cider.
It's a cider? I have to ask.
No, I know.
I'm listening, but I'm drinking all these, and I'm starting to get all sloppy.
Don't worry, we're getting...
Listen, everything in this carafe goes well with magic. I'm telling you right
your
now.
magic tricks are going to be crap.
I'm going to be sloppy. I'm going to be sloppy.
They're not going to make any sense.
You're going to be like, oh, that's how he does it.
This tastes like a Jolly Rancher to me.
Yeah?
A little Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, it's got that raspberry and lemon sweetness. It's a good one, and that's one of my favorite ones. That's actually what I'm drinking right here, but I also have a tiny glass of it.
Oh, see? Wow.
Oops.
Good shit.
No, so the last one is actually by far my favorite, and that is All My Mangoes. The reference comes from a beautiful movie called Idiocracy.
Oh, that's a great film.
Yeah,
I don't know it.
There was a TV show on that movie that everybody would watch called All My Balls.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we pulled from that. It's kind of like a swift kick in the mangoes was something we went with, and then we the concept kind of rounded out to the All My Mangoes with that reference. But yeah, that comes in at 11%, so it's a bit of a doozy. Woo. But it is carbonated, so it makes it nice and bubbly and tasty. But yeah, that's orange blossom honey, mango, and then dried habaneros just for that kick. And it's kind of like a sparkler of habaneros on your tongue.
Yeah, it's spicy on the finish.
Yeah, and the heat there's no heat, but you get that like kick of spice.
Like pop rocks. A little pop rocky.
It is. It's like a mango-y, habanero-y pop rocky.
This is nice for winter. I feel warm drinking it.
Well, you also just
I feel
drank 5
drunk.
other things.
Well, maybe because I drank 5. Yeah, that's a good point.
I got to tell you, I appreciate the Idiocracy reference. That's a great movie. That's the basic premise of the movie is dumb people breed and smart people don't. And
It
so
fits
if you
with
go
the
out a
times.
couple generations into the future,
that's
it's going to be
actually-
nothing but dumb people around.
It fits with the times.
Yeah, it does fit
fits.
with the times.
Yeah.
And certain areas of Michigan. I would
For sure,
say.
for sure.
Well, Miranda, last question. What's going on with this space? Because I know you've got this beautiful tap room, but what are you doing back there in the back?
So we've done some really exciting things. We're actually in the process of about, I'd say 3 blocks just south of us was our main production facility for Zombie Killer, Tuco Style Freaka, basically all the things you see in mass, in the mass markets. We've moved it now into our headquarters, which is where the tap room's located. Also our offices, where our original location was actually, and we still own it, is located. So we have everybody under one roof. We're one big happy family now. We will be one big happy family as soon as we can get everything hooked up and everything moving and functioning. But yeah, we have all the big shiny tanks here. You can see them through the windows now in the tap room. It's really cool.
Can you take tours? Can people?
We will. We will be. First off, the staff is going to have to take a tour. And we'll get there in due time. But yeah, we will definitely be offering tours so you can have like the full Bee Nectar experience and really see like what Willy Wonka kind of things we got going on here.
Awesome.
And what else goes on here in the Meadery during the week? I know you do. I mean,
We can't
obviously,
tell you.
podcast
We
is the
can't tell-
funnest
we can't
part
tell
of
you
your week,
anything.
but
No, we actually in the tap room we do like weekly events. Which on Mondays we have Quizzo, which is the pub trivia come through. Tuesdays we have karaoke. Thursdays we have Geeks Who Drink, which is another pub trivia. And then usually on the weekends we'll have bottle releases, sushi pop-ups, food trucks, a lot of different things. So we're always kind of busy trying to keep everyone busy.
I'm telling you, I like to Uber over here on a Friday or Saturday night and just hang out and sample.
Dude, I'm going to Uber out of here tonight. I just finished this carafe, and I just like...
It's a flight, not a craft.
A flight? Carafe?
Yeah,
I'm on a flight right now. I'm flying right now.
We don't have crafts, but we got flights.
It's a good thing you don't have crafts, because that would be too much.
All right. Well, Miranda Johnson, the taproom GM here at Bean Nectar, thank you so much. This was fantastic.
Yeah,
Big round of
thanks,
applause for her,
guys.
and thanks for lending us her space. Also, big thanks to CJ and Joel, who are working the bar back there. Thank you to them. So
Thanks, guys.
we appreciate all that they're
You're
doing.
the best.
I love her.
Welcome to the D.
Breathe. Breathe.
All right, Becky, what's going on around town?
Okay, so I'm going to see if I can read my notes after drinking all this mead. But so one thing that occurs to me is really a big sign of Detroit's revitalization. I mean, this is nothing new that Detroit's changing and so many things going on, but it used to be in the winter, honestly, you stay home and hibernate. There wasn't a ton to do in Detroit. You know, I feel like you just kind of stay at home and gain weight and
Get
ate.
a pint of mead?
Yeah. and now there's all these festivals. So, you know, Ford Motor Company bought the train station, the Central Depot, and they're having a festival to showcase all the cool old stuff that has found its way back to the train station.
All the missing stuff
All the missing things. So,
that reappeared?
right, like
Wait.
Don't look at me.
Objects
Don't look
that disappeared
at me.
and then came
Don't
back?
look at me. Don't look at me.
What do you
look
have in
at
your-
the mead.
what's
look
in your
at
pocket?
the mead. Don't look
Empty
at
your
me.
pockets right now.
No, but there's been a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah,
There's
like
been...
started with that giant clock that a guy mysteriously called up and said, I have this clock, and he left it in a field and told them exactly where to get it. You know, it never revealed who he was. Where all these people are coming out of the woodwork. So Ford is having this 10-night festival. It starts the same day as the auto show, January 18th, goes through the 27th. You don't need a ticket. It's all free. It's all outside. It's not actually access to the building. They're going to have a giant tent out there, but there'll be music and food trucks and a big light show on the building, and you can make s'mores. And the cool thing is you can come and see all these artifacts, from the elevators to the little medallions that were on the staircases. People just have been showing up with stuff. In fact, the owner of the Mercury Bar building that's right there by Roosevelt Park, he had been pilfering through there, picking stuff years ago with his friend, and he just stored all the stuff in his basement. And he's like, you know, I should probably give that to them now. So he wandered up to the foreman and said, here's this box. And he was delighted, like, oh, all these artifacts. So they're getting all these decorative objects that I think that's just such a very Detroit story, that he wandered around and picked stuff up and actually kept it safe and now giving it back. So check that out for 10 nights in January. House of Vans. This is another cool winter thing going on that I'm just so surprised about, and I think it's really great. So Vans, the shoe company. Are you a Vans fan?
I used to drive a van, and I am wearing shoes, so technically I can sit in
Okay,
on
but
this.
like the iconic checkered, you know, slip-on Van shoes, skateboarding
Oh, yeah.
culture.
That's a magician thing.
You
Yeah.
know?
I had
Yeah.
Converse at one point. Is one cooler than the other?
Vans cooler.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, that's
Seth,
all right.
I'm wearing Converse right now.
Are
dude.
you really?
Yeah.
I'm wearing New Balance,
And he's a-
so I know
She
where
just,
I
and
stand.
I'm a magician, so she
Magician.
just called me out.
I don't need dad shoes. I don't even know.
Yeah.
So Vans is popping up. It's January 24th through 27th in this old Jefferson School. It's in Midtown on Selden. Really cool building if you see a picture of it or you drive by. It's one of those iconic old school buildings that's just been empty forever. They're taking it over. They're building an indoor skate park in there in conjunction with Community Push. I talked about that when Murals in the Market was happening. So this is the whole Community Detroit organization that's all about making skateboarding less troublemakers and more like safe and cool and
No, they're pretty
mainstream.
hip now. They're like the
Yeah.
magicians of the
Skateboarding
new
world?
century. I'm
I'm
trying
not
to find
sure
big
what to
words,
think.
but this
Yeah.
The mead's getting in the way.
Is
It's the mangoes with the
preventing
habanero.
me
It's
from
that
doing that.
habanero popping in your
Yeah.
throat. Yeah. So it's this is a big deal because this is the biggest one yet, and this pop-up Vans House of Vans has been going on in Paris, London, all over China, Hong Kong, Montreal, and Detroit's going to be their biggest one yet. So that's something to be excited about. There's going to be art installations, live music, Thundercat, Danny Brown, lots of cool artists. So another great thing to get you out of the house and doing something cool. You have to RSVP, though, because it's going to be really popular, but it's all free. Speaking of free stuff to do, what are you going to do on MLK Day? Do you have the day off?
No,
work?
no, I don't actually.
Yeah, well, we have to record the podcast. What about you? Are you working?
Yeah,
I was actually going to stand in line at the bank and deposit some checks.
I don't think you can.
You can. It's closed. That's
Oh
a
my
bank
gosh,
holiday.
I haven't worked in a month.
So, there you go.
All right. Open mic night is on
Ow.
at B Nektar.
So you can go to the Henry Ford for free on MLK Day, all day. Adults, kids. They have a 30-minute show there called Minds on Freedom, which you can actually take part in. You can hold your protest signs, you can march along, and it's all about celebrating civil rights. There's also a bunch of events at the Charles Wright Museum. They start with a breakfast and a keynote speaker, and they go all day long. There's book signings, CD signings, there's film screenings. And MLK, he was actually in the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and they are coming back as a chapter to the Charles Wright Museum and doing a tribute to him, which
That's
I think
awesome.
is really neat. And they're doing, speaking on social justice and just what the fraternity is all about now, paying tribute to him with drums and spoken word from students from Detroit.
Stop.
And
Can you imagine if you were the guy who hazed Martin Luther King?
Oh my gosh.
To get into the fraternity?
No.
Like, that would be bad.
That would be really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you in a fraternity?
No.
No? Jason?
Were you?
No, to be really good at magic, you have to suck at college.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
It's a prerequisite, right?
yeah, no
Yeah.
luck there.
So how about football? You a football fan?
What's a football?
None of okay,
Yeah,
so we're
no.
terrible at sports.
Seth and I are horrible at,
Yeah.
I think, everything athletic.
Yes.
But if you're going to be stuck watching football, like because somebody in your house likes it or whatever, on this Sunday coming up, you might as well go out and do some good with it. So Matrix Human Services is having a fundraiser all around the playoff games. So on Sunday the 20th, you can show up at the Tapestry Banquet Center in Southfield for $20. Beer, brats, football. You've got the NFC and AFC championship games, which I now know is the Saints versus the Rams and the Chiefs versus the Patriots. See how knowledgeable?
This is the D.
Detroit.
This is the D.
Breathe.
All right, there it is. That's our Tuesday show, live from the Nektar Meadery tap room. Hey, by the way, we want to let you know that we have a mobile app. You can download it, whether you're on an Android phone or whether you're on an iPhone. Also, we're on the Echo.
We are. All you have to do is say, Alexa, enable the Debrief podcast, and she'll give it to you.
All right, before we get out of here, wrap up this first show from live at B Nektar, we do want to give a couple of shout-outs. First of all, I'll start.
Okay. What you
We've
got?
been talking about this new Japanese bistro, this new Japanese restaurant in Ferndale, not far from here.
Anti-Hero. I still want to go.
Oh, we had a chance to go. It was a nice evening. We started over at the Oakland, which is great craft cocktails. And then we went over there, and I will say this, I do not often rave about tofu, but the chicken fried tofu there was fantastic. The other thing is they have sake flights. I'll be honest, I am not good enough. I can tell the difference between these 5 meads here.
And they're not even meads, they're ciders.
Yeah,
and meads.
ciders and whatnot,
Yeah.
but sake is tough. I can't.
You couldn't tell?
I can't really tell the difference. I mean, I like going
Did
in
it
and
make the
pretending.
tofu taste better? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
it definitely did. So that's my shout out. What about you, Becky?
Well, you know I love the food too. We went to Besa, which is a new place on Woodward and Congress there, across the street from Townhouse in the Vinton building. And for a nice night out, now it's a little pricey, but it was super duper good. And I don't often rave about Brussels sprouts, but they had the best Brussels sprouts I've by far ever had. So it was very nice.
We should get your Brussels sprouts and my tofu together.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Yeah, be nice.
What about you, Jason? Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Actually, yeah. Well, see, I was thinking about, like, pizza, but then I thought, you know what? With all these ciders and the education I got on these flights, I'm going to give a shout out to B Nektar, because seriously,
Woo!
for somebody who is all about personality, there's a lot of personality here. And I'm not trying to make
Yes.
a joke, because it's totally dead serious, which is unlike my personality. No, this place is really hip, and they educated me. They schooled me in a kind way, kind of like the bullies schooled me to stay off the football team. in grade school. But anyway, no, the drinks are great. The staff are just fantastic.
I know.
And a shout out to Miranda. Can I do that?
Yeah,
a shout out to
Miranda,
Miranda.
CJ and
for
Joel as
teaching
well.
me.
And we've got Marion Way over here. Serving sushi. It is part of Geisha Girls pop-up sushi. So get your sushi on too. We're going to be talking to them in tomorrow's episode. We're going to take a quick intermission here, wrap up our Tuesday episode, and do some magic tricks. Go grab yourself another mead, go grab yourself some sushi, and then we'll get into Wednesday's episode. Thanks, everybody. Until we get to that next episode, Detroit's moving.
Keep up.
The D Brief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.